All right. Well, welcome back, everyone, on this beautiful, hot Thursday here in Southern Oregon. I think we're maybe going to top it out at about maybe 98 degrees today. And once again, we are coming to you live with a Sawyer discussion. And this is Sawyer Live Local. So today we are primarily focused here. We're going live on our Sawyer Station Facebook page. And I'm going to be discussing kind of outfitting and moving forward in the new COVID-19 era. And here with Ben Vance from Rogue Rafting, and I'm going to let him do a little intro in just a minute. Like I said, this is live, so if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the comment section there, and we'll make sure that either Ben or I will get to that as you move forward. And I'll throw it over to Ben. Go ahead and give us a little introduction there, Ben, and tell us a little bit about Rogue Rafting Company.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm sitting behind the home base here in Gold Hill on the Rogue River. It says 100 degrees on our temperature gauge right here. So it's definitely a nice hot day. Good day to be out on the river. Just had one of our boats float by just a minute ago on an afternoon whitewater trip. But yeah,
nice.
My wife and I own Rogue Rafting Company here in Gold Hill and Fish in Oregon Guide Service as well. So we do guided whitewater rafting and guided fishing trips. We're lucky enough to be able to run fishing trips year round basically, but the rafting is pretty seasonal. We ran our first raft tour this year back in February, I think the 28th. That's a pretty early start.
Yeah, I think I saw. Didn't Ryan run that?
He did, yeah.
Yeah. I think I saw that.
Yeah, so we got all the necessary gear for those cold weather trips, but June, July, August is prime time for people to be out on the Rogue River. But yeah,
Excellent.
Basically been shut down for a few months now. Fortunately, most folks have been up for postponing their trips as opposed to canceling. But yeah, we just started getting going again back on the 15th with the phase 1 opening. We are allowed to run a limited number of our tours as long as we're able to follow some of the new guidelines and best practices.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so just so everybody knows, at the Sawyer Station, we do offer a Wednesday on the water demo, and that runs all summer long, starts in June, July, and August. And Ben and Jade there at Rogue Rafting are partners with us. So we, Sawyer Station, we are a retail store. We sell all the toys to get out there and do that stuff. And so we are not outfitters. And so we work closely with Ben and Jade, letting them know what we're doing. And so seeing as they are in this phase 1 operating program, and we're coming into our summer, and Wednesdays on the water are to begin, we will also be operating in the same phase 1 operating procedures. And so really kind of ties into what we're doing at our store, and then also just what we're doing on the river and in the instructional environment. And a lot of what comes about is transportation. So I'll throw it over to Ben a little bit, and he can talk a little bit about transportation is really kind of, how do you get the people to the river, and how do you deal with a lot of those different situations?
Yeah, so we're pretty fortunate that we're right here on the river. So guests are driving out to where we're located here. So we have a real short shuttle route that we have to take to get people to and from the put-in and the takeout locations. And we typically use 15-passenger vans. Right now, with our limitations on how we can run our trips, we're only running groups that are traveling together or from the same household on a specific tour. So they're going to have their own boat, their own guide, and their own shuttle van. We're not intermingling other parties with them, trying to reduce the risk of people contaminating each other. So that's one of the things we're doing. And then we are offering the option of having guests' personal vehicles shuttled, so they'd follow the guide in the van up to the put-in, and then our shuttle service would move their vehicle to the takeout location, and they'll wear the necessary PPE for the shuttles. They'll wear a face mask and gloves, and then one of our new shuttle tools is Clorox wipes, so everything gets wiped down after anybody touches it. Yeah, so that is one option to help ease people's minds that they don't have to ride in our vans, although our vans do get cleaned regularly, as we've always done, but now a little more thorough and more documented. But yeah,
exactly.
So we're not maxing out the 15 passenger vans. Basically a party of 6 is a full raft that would be riding in a van together. Although we can't keep groups up as large as 10 people, as long as they are all from the same party and traveling together.
Right.
But yeah, so that's also we're
and
requiring.
That ties into a little bit of what we've been kind of preaching here for the last 6 weeks or so, is as people do get out and are using the outdoors, is pretty much, adventure with who you live with, and go on that rafting trip with who you're traveling with. And so that, like, the concept is that those people have already been cross-contaminating each other. Exactly. And so, yeah, so, like, I'm fortunate. I got 4 people that live at this house with me. So, we tend to go on adventures with the 4 of us.
Right.
And so that's pretty common. But also, one of the things that's not common just to our daily lives is wearing face coverings and wearing masks. And so when someone is transporting in a van, even though they're together in a party, you have the guide in there with them, people are wearing masks for that transport. And that pretty much rings straight through to almost, other operations in Oregon, operations in Idaho that we've heard from, is that, pretty much the face covering is for when you're in close proximity, right? And so, obviously if you're going to travel in a van, you're going to be in that close proximity. So, I know you guys are having that offered up, and we are offering that as well in our stores, just because, we do offer a curbside service for folks that don't want to wear a mask and they want to remain that distant from us. But if they want to come in and talk, fairly close and in depth about product, they're going to be, right here next to you looking at a product. And so it's one of those things that the mask is one of those things we can do. And it's kind of one of those pieces that people just kind of have to get used to it. Right.
Right.
And so you guys provide them in the van, or do you inform the guests to show up with one prior to the trip?
Exactly. Yeah. So we let everybody know that they are going to be required. Face masks are going to be required to ride in the shuttle van. They are optional on the raft, but in the van it is required. And so ideally they show up with their own face mask. But as of right now, we have bandanas available at the shop there. And so if for some reason they showed up without one, that would be sufficient to use a bandana as a face covering while they're in the van, and if they want to wear it while they're on the raft.
Right. Yeah, and I think part of the challenge is having an active wear face covering. Right. And so that's where a lot of folks are leaning towards the regular sun protection buff. Right. Because that's something that you can basically put it on and then pretty much pull it up over your mouth and your nose when you need to, but then run it down to your neck when you don't need to.
Right.
And so that's definitely something that is maybe a little bit more active, where a mask that's hooked onto your ears and then you got straps of the helmet and everything, you can't really move that around a lot. So, right. So we're actually, we're getting buffs actually printed at this time so that we will have them for the whole summer. And that's part of the screening process. And speaking of screening, why don't I let you talk a little bit about just the extensive screening that you guys have to do now that we're in this current situation, because you really need to learn a lot more about your guests before they get to the river, right?
Right. Yeah, so it's all pretty well documented on our website, which is usually where people will go when they start looking into a trip. So for each of our tours, it shows our new guidelines that we're going by. But yeah, that's one of the things, even for our day trips, where folks, if they've been exposed to somebody who might have had COVID, or anybody who's showing symptoms, fever, cough, those kind of things, that they are going to be able to let us know in advance, and they have the opportunity just to reschedule, wait the 14 days recommended, and they, they're not going to lose their deposit, and they will have a chance to still go on the trip. But yeah, we're just asking that if that's the case, that they let us know and they don't show up for their tour. We also are asking that, if they seem to be showing any signs or symptoms, that we might do a verbal, I don't know what you call it, medical check with them when they arrive. Right. And then we've even gone as far to have a no-touch thermometer, so you can take temperatures if needed. But yeah, the idea is everybody kind of, hopefully is self-regulating to where if they feel like they shouldn't be around other people, they're not, and that's the best you can hope for. But yeah, we still want to be able to offer these trips. We're real lucky. We get to spend a lot of time on the river and a lot of time outside, and I think that it's good that these type of tours are offered, even in these times. It's prime time to get out and enjoy the sunshine and the fresh air before maybe there's wildfires and smoke and whatnot. Like that was one of the things I was thinking with the face masks is when we had all the smoke a couple of years back, people were wearing paper face masks while they're trying to go rafting. And it's definitely not the ideal river wear for sure. Right.
Yeah. And so like, that's one of the things is like, you already typically have some screening contact with your guests. But the Wednesday on the water, it has been opened up in the past where someone goes through the initial orientation and then, we have people showing up at these random times. And so taking that to kind of parallel to what you're doing is that literally we now need to go to where, even though we're not charging money for the demo, people have to actually sign up. Like, we need to know you're coming. And so we really are moving towards making people so they either have to email us or call us or messenger us on our Facebook page to let us know that they want to come. They'll get a call and a confirmation screening from us. And then pretty much everybody will show up at the store and we'll go out to the river. And so that's just one of those things that we can't really be as just carefree, come whenever you want kind of thing, because we literally need to be having people kind of get themselves oriented to the new normal, right?
Right. So Ryan Timms just showed up. He was just guiding on a afternoon trip. He's done what, 4 or 5 trips now?
I think 4 since we started back up again. Yep, 1 back in February.
Absolutely. Nice. How's it going, Ryan?
Going very well, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, the river's great right now.
Excellent. So what has been the biggest difference that you've noticed out on the water, Ryan? Is that as far as once people get out there, there's kind of that uncertainty, right? But they're still just trying to get through and kind of get into their comfort zone. And, so part of that challenge is just kind of getting them to forget about some of their worries and start thinking about being on the river. And
yeah, because we've had a lot of people that really haven't done much of anything for a long time. And, people are talking about it a little bit and what they've been through. I think they need to kind of express that a bit. But more than anything, I think people are just really appreciating being out in nature and out in the water. Right. Most of the groups we're taking are like kind of inclusive or like all together. So basically, everyone's been really comfortable, especially when we hit the water. So yeah,
Right.
it's been good.
So they've all basically, yeah, because that's the thing is like it is one of those questions is if you know like a family of 6 is an ideal travel package right now, you know, because you get all of them in one boat. You know?
Definitely.
And I know Ben was talking about, you know, just taking the 2 people is a bit of a challenge, but he said that you guys have a program where they just if they pay a little more money, they can go as 2 people. And
Exactly.
pretty much, you know, so like
Real
basically they're
personalized
paying a little
tour.
bit more to get up to that, you know, to that minimum level.
Yep.
But I mean, that's kind of the normal right now. And it's probably good too. You have just this time to kind of test out how everything's working because we're not to that peak time, but you know, everybody around here knows that from the middle of June to that 4th of July weekend it tends to be the climax time period for that first big push. So it's like everybody wants to kind of get their system to have some test runs prior to that whole time period, right?
Yep. That's exactly what we've been doing. Yep.
Nice.
So before it gets
And
busy.
and I don't know if you want to talk about this or Ben does, but were you guys I think he was telling me how you're possibly offering a few more time slots. We're trying to kind of work with the schedules a little bit.
Ben. I'll hand that one over,
Nice.
Ben.
Nice.
Thanks.
Well, good to see you, Ryan.
You too,
Thanks for
Zach.
dropping in, man.
Yep.
Take my sunglasses. Oh, whoops. Nice. Yeah, so
Nice.
at least while we're still working with smaller groups, that's our best bet is just to offer more slots. One of our prime tours is the zip, dip, and sip. So that's zip lining, whitewater rafting, and then wine tasting. And
all those partners are in their own kind of version of phase 1 now too. So you can do that.
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
just
So
modified everybody.
the zipline park was shooting for a June 1st opening, and then the golf course where the lunch portion of the trip is, they've been open the whole time, I believe. I don't know that their grill has, but the golf course has been open the whole time. And then Del Rio opened with the phase 1 back on the 15th. So yeah, there's 4 different businesses that work that tour. But in the past, we've done a 9 a.m. and a 1 p.m. Now we have a 9 a.m., a 1 p.m., a 2 p.m., and a 5 p.m. tour, and we're doing that for right now, just to be able to keep it down to smaller parties, because we can take up to about 54 people at one time on the river, but that's just not an option right now.
Right. So yeah, probably one of your luxuries is the fact that you are located right there in Gold Hill and right on the river, so you can offer all those time slots. And if the group is there and they want that time, then you're going to be able to looks like accommodate them pretty easily with those three or 4 different time zones throughout the day.
Yeah.
And that might be something that a lot of the day trips are going to find out, is that that offering all these different time slots. I know that like some of the folks that do kind of the morning trip, the midday, and the afternoon trip, and the midday is always so big. Now they might be limited to where, hey, we're going to have this caps out here, but we have time on the morning trip and we have time on the afternoon trip. And so, I think how has it been? You obviously see a lot of the boats floating by. Have you seen quite a few different companies out on the river, or is it just still kind of early enough? I mean, I know maybe over last weekend a bit.
Yeah, I've seen a couple vans here and there, but yeah, I think it's really slow for everybody right now. I know a lot of companies are trying to get a fair amount of training in, just because we have to do things differently now, and we want to make sure we're all on the same page as far as the guides, and just trying to make sure that keep everybody safe, the guests and the guides, because that is part of it too.
Right. Oh yeah.
Guides are going to be dealing with people, a bunch of different people, and if everybody follows the guidelines and whatnot, it shouldn't be an issue, but there is definitely some risk involved. So we just want to make sure everybody's trained up and dialed in. But yeah, I've seen a few vans going by. We all use the same launch location, but we have a private takeout down below the
Right.
bridge.
So you don't typically see them. They don't come floating by your place because they're taken out before there.
Right, exactly. But we see
Gotcha.
the vans go by occasionally, and I think everybody's just starting to get ramped up, and everybody's got the same idea where they're just running small trips right now.
Right.
Sure, and then hopefully, things kind of come back to normal at some point.
Right. Absolutely. We talked a little bit about just kind of the extensive additional cleaning that has to happen. I mean, I know in our shop and in the factory, I mean, it's a wipe down process every midday, morning, and the end of the day. And in our store, it's pretty much, once we do have a small group of folks come through to shop, then as soon as they could leave, we do a wipe down series. It's pretty much just wiping off the surfaces, the door handles on both doors, the access to the restroom, and then the counter. But and a lot of our sales have been pretty much no touch. You can literally take the card reader, turn it around, stick that out. The person can extend their hand and put the card in the card reader. Card reader does its whole thing, and then pretty much they're done. So
Right.
I know that we're out doing that on a small scale because we're just dealing with people walking through our space and touching stuff they're checking out. But I know that you guys have to do a pretty extensive cleansing at the end of the trip, which probably what Ryan's diving into right now. So give us a little rundown on how that program has to go.
Yeah. So we've always done pretty good on that anyway. I mean, we always clean all the gear after every trip. But like I was saying, now it just has to be a little more documented so we know we're not missing any of the steps, just being real thorough about it. But yeah, we use a disinfectant cleaner that is a laundry cleaner as well, so it can be used on the soft gear. But yeah, basically a dunk tank system with the right concentration of this disinfectant is what we're using on helmets, life jackets, splash jackets, wetsuits, and then we also
all that gear that people are wearing the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And neoprene river booties. So yeah, any gear that we touch that day, even if it ends up being extra gear that doesn't get used, is going to be sanitized at the end of the trip. Goes to the dunk tank, and then everything's hung up to air dry. And then
right, that's probably one of the biggest changes, is because typically, you do have that protocol of cleaning all the gear at the end of the trip, but typically you don't clean the gear that didn't actually get used. But now
right.
you have to clean. You got to clean everything that went on the trip has to be cleaned.
Anything
so that's definitely adds some extra pieces to it for sure.
Right.
Gotcha.
And we do have hand sanitizers is set up, so as soon as the guides show up, they're either washing their hands or they're sanitizing with the hand sanitizer. And then we also have gloves that as long as they're washing their hands right before they are doing any of the pre-trip pack, then I'm good with that. But some of them like to wear the gloves as well.
Right.
And so we get all that stuff packed up, goes in the van or in the raft. The van's going to get a full wipe down with this same disinfectant cleaner that we have in the spray bottles. So it's the 99.99% kills everything stuff. So that's going to wipe down all the vinyl seats in the vans, all the armrests, all the door handles, anywhere that gets touched. And then there's also a container of Clorox wipes in each of the vans that can do little spot cleanings throughout the trip, or when people are getting back into the vans. So that's at the beginning of the trip. Then the guide goes down to Sawyer Station to meet the guests, and we're asking that everybody waits outside for the tour instead of congregating inside the building there. And then they also have,
and that's just keeping all different groups separate. So right
exactly.
now you've actually done, most of the trips have been their own group, but as you get to where you actually have two groups, they'd basically be in two different staging areas, or three groups would be in three different staging areas. And so that's just part of the new process keeping everybody in their own little isolated group,
Yep.
pre-stage and post-stage.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So the guide should be getting at the Sawyer Station, hopefully before the guests are there, so he can make a once through and make sure everything is wiped down as far as the door handles, the locker handles, all that kind of stuff that may be touched. And then we also do that same walkthrough cleanup after the tour, just hitting all the spots that we know might have been touched inside with the Clorox or the disinfectant spray. But yeah, and then the main cleanup is what happens at the end of the tour, so that way everything's ready to go for next time.
Right,
so even the rafts are getting washed down with the disinfectant. The grab handles, paddles are getting washed down. Pretty much everything. The pumps we're washing down. So everything that the guides or the guests are going to touch is getting cleaned with the disinfectant.
Everything gets a cleaning.
Air drying.
Exactly. Nice.
So,
nice. Well, excellent. So yeah, and I think besides everybody kind of modifying to this new normal, everybody's kind of getting their training in and trying to kind of flesh out the quirks of their their system, and that's perfect time of year. Luckily we have some really nice weather right now, and that's definitely moving forward, and we definitely appreciate you. Yeah, water level's great. And we definitely, appreciate you guys working with us. And, as Wednesday on the Water is, it's a little bit different as far as the sense that, we've really been wrestling with the fact that we need to have an active wear face covering, because a lot of times there's some close just dialogue with people, and a lot of them they're showing up one at a time. They're all, sometimes it's a couple together, but a lot of times it's just an individual here, an individual there. We don't transport them. They don't have to, they travel in their own cars, but just that interaction when we're discussing different boards and different crafts with them and helping get them set up in the kayak or on the sup board, there's definitely some of that close contact there. So that's why we basically have kind of made the decision and the choice to kind of just move to using the buff. And it's kind of this new normal, but I think that everybody's going to have to get used to the fact that your new attire is going to be pretty much something like that, and then you're covered, and this you could do your horseplay on the river and water fight, and if something like it, if the buff gets wet, it's not going to be a big deal. And then we're figuring with people can come up and they're in that communication time where we're doing some discussion with them, they can have the buff on. But then once we get them a craft and get them out on the water, they're out by themselves, they can just drop it down. Now it's it's not hindering them at all. If it gets too warm, they can wet it down. And so, that's basically what we're going to take that approach at. And we're going to roll these out because we're actually going to do Wednesday on the Water on this first Wednesday coming up. And then also we're going to do the demo with Paul Clark. And so we'll get him tuned into that whole situation. And, we're going to operate that way. And we'll be kind of going through our own training process with the active wear on the river. So
you mentioned close contact. You mentioned close contact, which is a thing for guiding these river trips in the past. Even getting guests fitted with their gear. Typically we're right up there in their face, helping them buckle their PFDs and adjusting them and their helmets and stuff. So one of the approaches we've taken there is more like airline stewardess demonstrates how to buckle a
right
seatbelt. So we're demonstrating how to put on the vests and how to adjust and walking them through it while staying back and then letting them check each other's vests.
Yeah,
so far that's worked pretty well. I mean, we definitely have to stress tightening them up tighter than they would, usually we get up there and give them good adjustment.
Yeah, most customers don't really want the life jacket to be as tight as it's supposed to be
yeah.
to work for them.
We
Yeah,
tell them
and I know that even there's discussion on also training family members to be that rescuer. So basically showing people a little bit more of this is how you're going to pull your brother, your sister in because you guys are traveling together. And then also just other companies I've spoke with are talking about where you're going to move a guide, you're going to have a guide one level up. So if they're a class 5 guide, they're going to guide those class 3 and 4 trips. So they're basically, trying to put your more overqualified guide. So if you're just guiding one level up, and so you don't have a rookie out there running that 6-pack of people, so you're trying to step up the guide to where you got your more experienced people to kind of lead more on multi-day stuff like that. But
right.
I think that's on everybody's mind as well. Is just kind of like how do you give this experience in this surreal time where we're not going to be grabbing people, and we're not going to be tightening people's up jackets and such.
Right. Yeah, the rescue thing, definitely showing them how to pull each other in. But even in spots where we typically let people jump out and swim, we got to make sure that one of them stays in the raft and can pull the rest of them in, so the guide's not having to make contact. And then we also have steps to take if the guide does have to make contact with the guest. They're going to fill out the necessary incident form, and then that way we can follow up with the guests and keep track of the guide. And if there ends up being any sort of an issue, then we can track it and make sure that guide is checked out and just make sure the guest is taken care of as well. But yeah, it's a whole different deal for sure. That stuff that you wouldn't normally think about. For the multi-day trips, for sure. There's the Wild Rogue Outfitters Association that I'm a part of, and some of those outfitters in that group spend a lot of time coming up with a really great set of best practices for how we could run our trips as safe as possible. Right. And that was pretty cool to see all that hard work. And
and it's one of those things where outfitters definitely bond together when they're put towards a challenge that is to everybody. It's just like the fires in the Rogue Canyon. The outfitters are all like, okay, how are we going to get this dialed in now? What are we going to do? How are we going to get this figured out? So it's definitely one of those things that people come together. We're seeing that in Montana. You're seeing that with Idaho outfitters as well. And I think every outfitter out there just wants to let people know that, they're open and they're, it's going to be a little different, but the river is still going to be there. And, if you're willing and you want to get out there, there's definitely a lot of opportunities. So, we notice that we get a lot of the mailers, so we see all of the emails from all the different outfitters, and it's kind of like, okay, yep, this season's starting off here. This season's starting off here. I don't know if the Grand Canyon, Colorado trips are starting off yet, but I think Idaho is starting up, and a lot of stuff in Oregon and Montana. Montana has been fully open. It's just that now you have to get to this comfortable level of what are people comfortable with. Right. And, a lot of people aren't comfortable with flying. So it's really more of that staycation, right? It's the people that can drive to us. Local. But that's also something that we all need to be aware of, right? Because people are like, oh, we're down here in little Southern Oregon. We have limited cases, and we had a spike yesterday, but I-5 runs right through our valley, and so people can be here from Portland or San Francisco in 5 or 6 hours. So we're not really that isolated, and and so I think that's on top of everybody's mind. But I think where everybody is, it's great that there's groups that can get together, and really that's what you're looking for, is really trying to put together just some best practices that everybody can adhere to. So we definitely appreciate you taking some time with us, Ben, and hopefully everybody's season kind of moves forward, and I'm sure they'll learn some things along the way, and we'll be making our modifications as well to operate the Wednesdays on the water. They typically start off a little slower anyhow, so we'll use that period to kind of get into the screening process and working with folks. And we'll definitely stay in tight communication with you and Jade on how things are going. And yeah, absolutely. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. Do you have any final words besides the fact that letting people know that you're open and you've got 5 starts a day at time slots?
Yeah, no, just get outside and enjoy the weather for sure.
Absolutely. And I think Jessica can throw up your guys' website there, and just so people kind of know where that is. And that's really the best way to find out all the information and to get those trip time started there. And then, like I said, we are starting our Wednesday on the Water, which basically starts the beginning of June, and that is on our Facebook page. And really, the biggest thing is it's just going to be that you have to get a hold of us. You know, we need to hear from you. We need to basically put you into a time slot, you know, and it's not just show up at your leisure. And then actually the first Saturday, which I believe is the 6th of June, we will actually have a demo event with Paul Clark, and he'll actually be on here with us next week, talk a little bit about what he's going to be doing in that clinic, and basically give people a good opportunity with a couple chances throughout the day to get out on the water with Paul and learn some river skills on the sup boards, and really kind of just get used to what the life of sup on the river can really be. And it's quite a tool that he's very passionate about, and we're happy to have him as a technical advisor and rep for Hollow Boards as well. So appreciate that, and hopefully you can tune back into Sawyer Local. And from Ben and myself, just want to tell everybody out there to try and keep a little extra kindness and be a little extra patient with all those outfitters out there. And you definitely want to get out there and you know, support your local outfitter, support your local shops. And if you want to get out in the outdoors, they're there to help you out. And so everybody's making those modifications. If it's an outfitter that you've been going with for your whole life, they're still that same outfitter, and they've just got some extra things they have to put in place, but they still want to provide that incredible experience for you out and getting out on the rivers. So give that outfitter a call and get out on the water. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys on the river.